Most voice AI appointment setting systems stop after the initial booking, but that's only half the battle, literally. There are a lot of businesses that rely on appointments that lose half of their revenue from no-shows and last-minute cancellations. Today I'm going to teach you how to get your client more money for the appointments they already have and give them back control over their own schedule by avoiding no-shows and last-minute cancellations. So I'm going to show you a retail agent integrated with N8N that has the skills of finding an appointment, canceling that appointment, or rescheduling that appointment. So by the end of this video, you'll have an appointment confirmation agent that can reschedule appointments that would have otherwise been last-minute cancellations or no-shows. I'll walk you through the prompt, all the details, every function that we're going to set up. We've set up the check availability and book appointment functions in the past. I'm quickly going to look over them to teach you guys the right descriptions for these functions and how to integrate them into the prompt. But also, we're going to be creating our own custom functions for checking the current appointment that a user has, either canceling that appointment if that's what they prefer, or rescheduling that appointment is actually what we're going to kind of push them for. So, and there's this whole N8N scenario that you're going to be able to get as a template in school or recreate for yourself. I'm going to walk you step by step. My name is Alejo from Amplify Voice. I realized that there was no full video on how to do rescheduling and cancellations. So I decided to go figure it out with our awesome developer, Cuba. And put a video together for you guys. I do this from the bottom of my heart because I love figuring these things out and then sharing them with you all so you all get elevated. And if you've gotten any value from this video or past videos that we've done, please like and subscribe. It really does help us a lot by showing this value to other people. So that would be an amazing favor to me personally. Thank you. Now let's get into the video. There's three parts to this whole system. We have the prompt for the agent, the functions and the corresponding descriptions, and the N8N scenario that puts it all together. Let's start with part one, which is the prompt. You'll notice that I don't have a role, an objective, or a personality. The instructions are not really filled out. That's on purpose because I need you focused on what we're doing, which is how are we handling these reschedulings? What is the user's experience when getting that call to confirm that appointment and saying, actually, turns out I can't go that day. Can you offer me anything else? So we're going to be describing that. And namely, we're going to be creating example interactions that show that. So let me walk you through the structure and what I want you to pay attention to regarding part one, which is the prompt. So for context, you're making an outbound call to first name, somebody who we already know the name of, to confirm an appointment. Right now, the time is this. So we're giving context about time and what the task is. We also have some user details. If the task is confirming an appointment, then we will obviously have the user details. Doing outbound calls, we usually have the user details. If you want to do this for inbound calls, you can do that too. And the system is the exact same. You just need to figure out where you're going to gather this information from or ask it from the user in that moment. That's for context. Under instructions, I want you to pay attention to this calendar and booking tools. I am assuming that you've already set up checking availability and booking an appointment in your agent, but what a lot of people miss is giving practical instructions to the agent as to how to use these tools and how to go about them and what is the user's experience gonna be like. But what most people miss is giving the agent a practical understanding of how to use these tools. For example, never assume that a time is available without first using the check availability function. Obvious to us, but sometimes these agents need those explicit instructions so they don't hallucinate availability. Another key practical instruction, if the book appointment function returns that time is unavailable, use the check availability function to check availability with a wide time range. You will receive many available options, but you should only offer 3 options max. Phrased in natural human speech, such as, let's say this is Paige. Paige has availability on Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Time and 3 p.m. or Wednesday at 3:30 p.m. This is as practical as it gets, and your agent will play very nicely with these types of practical instructions. Another one is ensure you always book in the future. I know, but bear with me. For example, if the user says Tuesday or this Tuesday, usually check next Tuesday, meaning the soonest Tuesday in the future, as a full absolute date. We're gonna get into absolute dates here in a second. I've looked at it in previous videos, but it's gonna be a very key aspect of what we're gonna do and how to make sure that reschedules happen correctly every time. Now the good stuff. If you're trying to reschedule an appointment, check if there are current appointments with the check current appointment function that we're going to be looking at in a second, then check availability using check availability function, and agree on a time with the user. Finally, trigger the reschedule appointment function. Again, as practical as it gets. Do this, and then do that, and then do that. But as you and many others have experienced, that's usually not enough to get reliability off of an agent. So what we do is dig into it further, giving example interactions. So we're going to be skipping over stages today. I don't want your attention there. I want your attention here. So we start the call and we say, hey, first name, I'm Saya, the agent from Amplify Voice. By the way, this call is being recorded for training. You inquired about our AI voice solutions. I'm calling to set up your intro with our, let's say this is CFO Paige Goodlett, to see if we're the right fit for each other. So let me show you what that looks like. I've set up my dynamic variables here. Ideally, you're passing this before the call starts. And I have videos on dynamic variables, how to do that. We're going to do manual chat. The reason for this is because we'll be able to see the functions triggering what's going out and what's coming back from the function. So let's start a conversation. Hi. Hey Alejo, I'm Saya, the agent from Amplify Voice. By the way, this call is being recorded for training. You inquired about an AI voice solution. I'm calling to set up your intro call with our CFO Paige to see if we're the right fit for each other. Paige is on availability before 5 p.m. Eastern on weekdays when works for you. Great. Let's go for 4 p.m. next Monday, let's say. So we get back. Let me check if Paige is available. It books the appointment. You're all set. The intro call with Paige is booked. We get the tool result and we see status is successfully booked an appointment. Awesome. Okay, cool. Our appointment is now booked. I'm going to pull it out in the bookings. There we go. Awesome. Let's keep going. This agent is super reliable because it has those example interactions to go with it. For example, if the none of the times work for them in check availability, no worries. Let me check availability again. Shares preferred date and time for booking. Then the agent will ask the user to wait a second and then share whether the book appointment call function return available or unavailable. And now we're going to get into the good stuff, which is they want to cancel their appointment, they want to reschedule their appointment. So we're sharing some information during the context, we're giving some practical instructions, and then we're giving some demonstrations, some examples of how to use these different functions. I prefer using these angle brackets for saying, I don't know what the user is going to say, but if they say something along the lines of showing interest in the solutions or asking about pricing, then you should say this. And sometimes we want to attach a function to that. So we would say something along the lines of, shares preferred date and time for booking, ask the user to wait for a sec, and then we have these tildes to essentially say, this is a silent thing. You should not say this out loud. You should do this action. If we were being really coherent, then we would teach the agent each of these symbols in the instructions, maybe in the communication guidelines. Because my objective is maximizing reliability. I'm not repeating the instructions over and over and over again. I am showing the agent different ways to understand those instructions so reliability goes up. Which takes me to phase number 2, which is the function descriptions. I'm about to show you something that might be counterintuitive. The description for the book appointment in the calendar is actually quite short at the start, but I've modified it to make it a lot more reliable. And what you're about to see, it might look a little crazy. It just goes on. I'm about to show you exactly what this description says, but it is pretty long. It's about 4 or 5 sentences long. I'm putting it here because there is no practical way to show it here. I usually have it in a notepad on my side where I'm iterating on those functions. And it's like, this is the description for check availability. This is the description for book appointment. I've shown this in 2 videos, in the calendar video and in the agent functions video, how you make these descriptions make your functions reliable. So we're going to go over the simpler descriptions for check current appointment, cancel appointment, and reschedule appointment. But first, let me show you the structure. The description says this: when users ask or agree to book an appointment, book it on the calendar. And now we walk it through the different parameters that we have to use that you'll see here. How do we use them reliably? The time parameter should be a full absolute date. Absolute means a full description of the date. Next Tuesday would be a relative date. So even if the user asks for a relative date such as next Tuesday, convert it to absolute date. That is what we said here. I said 4 p.m. next Monday, but the agents transformed that to Monday, September 15th, 4 p.m. The time should always be in the future. The time right now is the dynamic variable for time, and we're clarifying this is Eastern time. The time zone parameter should always be America, New York. You can change this depending on your use case. If you want it to be the user decides, that's okay, but we find it more reliably to stick to one. The notes parameter should have a one-sentence summary of the conversation. Guest parameter should be some random email. The name parameter should be first and last name, and reschedule reason should be first time booking. Why? Why do we have to add these things? Well, that is one of the cons of Cal.com. It has this idiosyncrasies of the integration where some of these things are required, even if they don't make any practical sense. So the original description of this function didn't include any of this, and sometimes it would just fail for no reason. Well, it would have a reason, but it was very hard to understand. I've spent many months perfecting this, so you can just take it now. I'm gonna make sure that you have this agent accessible in our school community as a template. So go check out the link below. You can get it there along with an NADN scenario. But let's keep going. This is the good stuff. This is how do we make functions work well. But we've done book appointment before. The thing we're really interested in is these new functions where we're gonna check an appointment to either cancel it if the user wants to, or reschedule that appointment, which is kind of what we're gonna nudge the user to do. So now we have our appointment set up. We're actually going to reschedule this appointment now, and I'm gonna show you how. This is the description for the reschedule appointment function. Reschedules an existing appointment to a new time using its booking ID. Why did we have a massive description for the book appointment cal, but this one's so short? And what is this booking ID? Well, we take care of the whole logic on the backend in NADN. And we have this function that will take care of the details of communicating with the Cal.com API the right way every single time. So we don't need such a long description. But there's this one thing, this booking ID. Well, how Cal.com works is that to reschedule or cancel an appointment, you just pass on a booking ID and then you take the action you want to take. But first you need to find out what that booking ID is. And we schedule people with either an email or a phone number. For rescheduling and cancellation, email is what works right now. And since we're doing an outbound call, we're assuming that we have the user's email, and that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to scroll down and show you what that flow is going to look like. If the user wants to reschedule their appointment, we're going to use the check availability function and return 3 available times, ask the user which one works. And then they say which time works for the rescheduling. Okay, sounds good. Let me set you up for a new time. Use check current appointment to retrieve the booking ID, then use reschedule appointment function, which is also what we said up here in the instructions. If you're trying to reschedule an appointment, check if there are current appointments with the check current appointment function, then check availability and agree on a time with the user. Finally, trigger the reschedule appointment function. Okay, so let's see it in action. I'm gonna start a new chat. I'm gonna say, hi, I need to reschedule my appointment. We're gonna get an answer from the agent, and the lag that you're seeing right now is because there's a function triggering in the background. So we're gonna get a response, see what happens. Okay, awesome. No problem, I can help you with that. Let me quickly check your current appointment details and see what new times are available. So check current appointments. For my email, right? Because my appointments are associated with my emails. We're retrieving the booking ID, which I'm going to show you this function in a second. Now I'll check pages availability for next week. So it checks Friday to Friday. And then we have a bunch of available dates, but we don't say all of them willy-nilly. We only say, 3 or 4 different days. So here are a few options. Monday, 9:30 a.m., Tuesday, 3 p.m., Wednesday, 2:45 p.m. Let's say it's 2:45. Now it should be triggering reschedule function, there you go, with this booking ID and the new time. And this is the new formatting that we're gonna use for this rescheduling. So I'm gonna show you that description too. Status, now reschedule, your appointment has been rescheduled for Wednesday. Okay, now let's take a step back and understand what happened here. I showed you the prompt, which is stage 1 of making these functions work, then the function descriptions, and then the N8N scenario. Let's look at these function descriptions. First, we have to check current appointment. So we go to this function. Let me show it to you. Finds a specific appointment using the user's email to retrieve its booking ID. We are only really sending the user's email, and we can even send it as a dynamic variable to make it more deterministic. We're making sure this parameter is required, and we're gonna be retrieving something back from our N8N scenario, this booking ID. Okay, now let's jump into N8N to see that in action. So we have find appointment. This is already from a previous execution, but all the same, we're getting the Cal.com credentials. You can set up your own stuff here. I left a space for API key, but I really recommend that you guys start using headers the right way, which is with authorization. That's not the topic of today, but in authentication, generic, header, and then you can set up your Cal.com credentials, Retell credentials, etc. So that's the way we're gonna do it. We just gave it previously the event type ID, that's all. And now we're feeding it the attendee email. That's all it needs to find the right bookings. So test is the name of the calendar between Alejo Pijuan, which is the attendee, and Alejo Pijuan, who's the host. So page was just a placeholder. Okay, so we are retrieving this booking, and we can actually also handle multiple bookings for the same person and just change the latest one that got booked. But I'm not gonna step into that. This video would be double its length, but you do have that and it works just fine. So go ahead and leverage that. So what we're gonna find is that if that appointment, that ID exists, then we're going to return to the voice agent, hey, this is the booking ID. That's exactly what we saw here. We passed on the email and we got back that booking ID. Now I'll check page's availability for next week. The agent does that. We agree on a date, which is what we have here. Reschedule. We're gonna check availability, says which time works for the rescheduling. Sounds good. Let me set you up for a new time. Let me set that up for you. One moment. So it passes the booking ID and the new booking time to the reschedule appointment function. Let's look at that function now. Reschedule appointment. Bam. Reschedule an existing appointment to a new time using its booking ID. Very simple, very straightforward. N8N takes care of the rest. So that's one of the big advantages of really digging into these scenarios in N8N. You're gonna get way more flexibility and simplicity. All we need to pass is the booking ID that we already had as a dynamic variable and the new booking time, which is the new booking time. I'm gonna actually expand this a little bit because it's a little longer and I want you guys to see it well. So we're saying the new booking time the user selected formatted in an absolute date in the format year, month, date, hour, minute, second. That is the formatting that Cal.com requires. So it's gonna look like this. It's gonna look right there. Bam. 2025, September 1 p.m. So when we pass that along, this is giving me an error because this is from a previously rescheduled function when I was testing, but we did just see it live. What it returns when it succeeds is status rescheduled. Status rescheduled. Bam. So we got the new booking time, and I can even go here and see reschedule. This is so cool. I see reschedule for 2:45 p.m. on Wednesday. So we have now rescheduled an appointment. The last thing that we need to do is, hey, if the user really wants to cancel, what do we do? Well, let's not keep the user hostage. Let's do what they're insisting that they want. Great. So I'm gonna open up a new tab with the same agent and let's get into it. So we're gonna start a new chat. Let's say this is a new call and we're saying, hey, need to cancel my appointment. So what's the agent gonna say? In these, between the instructions and the example interactions, wants to cancel their appointment. Sorry to hear that. I can reschedule that appointment for you. What other day would work for you? And if we see here, Okay, that's definitely not what the agent do, and I think that I know why. The agent just went into check current appointment and directly canceling it. That's not what we wanted. It's not necessarily wrong, but that's not the flow, the user experience that we wanted. We wanted to nudge, hey, let's not cancel that appointment. That's money for your client. Let's reschedule it instead. The reason I think this failed is because we actually didn't set up an instruction for how to handle when the user requests cancellation. I'm gonna look up the word cancel. There's no how to use here for that cancellation. So let's set a practical instruction up here so the example interactions can be triggered more accurately, more reliably. So this is that practical instruction. If the user wants to cancel their appointment, first nudge them to reschedule instead. If they decide to reschedule instead, follow the rescheduling flow. If they insist on canceling, check the current appointment and cancel the appointment. So now, this is my favorite debugging tool, I'm gonna save this. I'm gonna edit my message in gray, resend it, and Retell's gonna show me a new answer, what the agent would answer instead. Now we have the right thing. Sorry to hear that, right here. Sorry to hear that. I can reschedule that appointment for you. What other day would work for you? But that's once, like once it worked, once it didn't, what, we're just sending that message over and over again? Well, even better. We can click on debug on the green messages, where are the voice agent messages, and then regenerate 10 answers. And what this is gonna do is essentially show us what the agent would answer out of 10 different prompts, out of sending this message 10 different times. And as we focus on reliability, this debugging tool, regenerate 10 answers, shows us, we can breathe easy, we can move on to the next thing. Why? Because in this case, that exact answer will happen 10 out of 10 times, which is what we want. Okay, so what other day would work for you? Next Wednesday. So now what should happen is we're going from here to the rescheduling flow, check availability, bam. Checking for next Wednesday, lovely. Let's go for the 5:30. Now that we agreed on a time, such which time works for the rescheduling, use check current appointment, and then use reschedule function. Check current appointment for my email, results with this booking ID, and rescheduling your appointment to next Wednesday, bam, and then we get the result, and we are good to go. Now let's look at the opposite. The user says, you know what? No, I just wanna cancel. Okay, great. Well, what happens then? The agent should be able to adapt to that now that it has the practical instruction. If they insist on canceling, check the current appointment and then cancel the appointment. Check the current appointment and then cancel the appointment. This is my favorite, easiest, lowest hanging fruit solution to sell to businesses. And we're talking like, and I wrote a few of them down that I think this is key for. Anything that's services business that requires appointment booking. We have dental offices, salons, consulting firms, home services companies, and medical practices mainly. And the cool part about medical practices with this is you don't necessarily need to handle sensitive information. You don't need to handle personal health information. And you are bound to make that business more money simply with this appointment reminder agent. That's it, with the appointment reminder rescheduling agent. And they don't have to tie up their staff for hours doing manual calls for reminders, which sucks. This will just take care of everything in 1 or 2 minutes. The best part is that for the appointment reminder use case, what we get is we already have their information, we already have their email. So this is super fluid. I just want to cancel. Okay, great. This is the phone number of the user. That's the email related to that phone number. Wonderful. Great. We cancel or we reschedule. So super recommended if you're starting out and you want kind of like a really tangibly valuable use case. This is what I would recommend. Or maybe you're in an awkward middle where this is not really what you want to build, but you still haven't made your first dollar with your AI agency. Well, I'm preparing a video for you specifically on how to make your first dollar with AI. I'd love to hear your comments in the description. And I do know that many of you aren't subscribed. It's just a click and it helps us a ton. If you guys could like and subscribe, that would mean a lot to me and to the whole team. We work really hard to get you the most amount of value that we can. So we appreciate your support. All the resources are linked below. And please remember to never stop prompting.